I'm Giulia Lanza. I'm a material scientist at SNAC National Accelerator Laboratory, and I'm the co-founder of the Sage Journey program. A quick message to introduce you this important video where Janhavi Singhal, a college student and a Sage Camp alumni, will outline for you all the important steps to apply for an internship program. So if you want to have the highest chances of being selected at an internship program, watch the video, follow the steps, and if you are applying to an internship program at a national laboratory, remember to inform the SAGE coordinator of that lab because they can increase the chances of your success. So watch the video, follow the steps, and good luck with your internship application, and I hope to see you at around the national laboratory this summer. Watch the video up to the end. Bye.
I'm Janhavi. I'm a third-year physics major at University of California, Santa Barbara, and 2 years ago I did an internship at Slack, which is this photo here, and then I also did an internship at Berkeley Lab this past summer. And these are just some tips that I learned through going through the process of these two internships. So next slide. So before your internship, there's a lot of things that you have to do. But the first thing that I would say is you have to figure out which internships to apply to. So next slide. So first, you have to do a lot of research on what programs there are. The two that this information mostly applies to would be the NSF-RUs and the National Lab internships. So you would want to go to the websites and pull on information from these webinars to figure out which internships you qualify for, because you may also qualify for more than one and therefore may want to apply for more than one. And the information that you need to collect about each of the internships that pique your interest would be, are you eligible? What the location is, what the application requirements are, do you need to write 4 essays? Do you need to submit a CV? Things like that. And then you also need to take note of the deadline. Sometimes the deadlines are very varied, and so you want to make sure to know exactly when those are. And then you also want to know what the program start and end date is. I know I'm on the quarter system and some internships are on the semester system, and so I would have to miss a significant part of the internship. So you want to double check about each program's flexibility with your school schedule. And this is just an example of what my spreadsheet looks like. Next slide. Another thing that is really important in the internship application process, which I think often gets neglected, is one, there's the obvious of you need to reach out to your letter of recommendation writers. And of course, you need to reach out to them early and make sure to follow up with them to make sure that they know that the deadline is approaching. You should also reach out to Sage, especially if you're applying to if you're applying to any of the national labs. I would recommend reaching out to your local Sage person, and also the general overall, because you never know who knows who and how they may be able to help you out. I think this is potentially the most important person to reach out to, which is experienced older students. So they're the people that will actually have the time to edit your applications sentence by sentence and give you really concrete feedback about your application. So definitely reach out to them and make use of their experience having applied to all the things, internships, grad school, etc. And then also I've learned that you should, in order to be a competitive applicant, you should reach out to potential mentors that you would like to work with at the internship locations. So this means that you'll need to research the employees or faculty who are doing exciting research that you want to participate in. Another benefit is that they may have SAGE affiliation or awareness, and so that might also be able to strengthen your application before you even submit it. Next slide. So there are a bunch of major components in most internship applications, and one is a resume. And you can kind of break this down into technical experiences that would be aligned with your future career, non-technical experiences like any jobs you may have had, any clubs or other extracurriculars, and general leadership experiences. In terms of how to what things you need to make sure to put on your resume, I would say that I've learned that science could be a very small world, and so if there's any people that you've worked with, you should make sure to mention the professor or whoever, since people might be able to like recognize those names. For your project or whatever you did for this experience, you want to make sure that it's well motivated. Why did I do this project? You might also mention some methods. And then lastly, affiliated experiences. So for example, maybe you went to some lecture series or there was intern events or you went to group meetings, a journal club, things like that. So you also want to make sure to put that on your resume. And then in terms of non-technical experiences, I would say that you want to highlight transferable skills. So like even if you're at a job, maybe there is an an aspect of it where you showed independence or innovation or creativity in solving a problem. So those are things that I would make sure to keep on your resume. And then the next component that often show up in internships are cover letters or essays, or sometimes they're phrased as like letters of intent. And of course, you need to start early so that you're giving everyone an opportunity, like, all the people that might review your application an opportunity to review it in a reasonable time scale. And then you also need to be specific and concise about everything you're saying in your essay. It needs to be well motivated, so they need to understand like why you're interested in doing this internship. But you can't spend too much time on that. It just needs to be well grounded. And then lastly, you need a really strong like thesis statement. Oh, sorry. Uh, about your long-term goals. So like this is a sentence from one of the applications I submitted, which is like the blank program would be a key stepping stone towards my dream that started at the conclusion of my participation in the Sage Camp as a student. 10 years from now, I hope to be a high-energy experimentalist, uncovering the secrets of the standard model and beyond. So that's like a really strong statement that also grounds your essay. Next slide. When describing projects, here's just like a couple things that you need to make sure to check off. Some things that you definitely need to do is you should highlight your ability to do a project independently. Oftentimes, these summer internship programs can go uncompleted, and it kind of becomes like not super useful for the mentor. And so oftentimes highlighting your ability to see a project to completion and being able to handle it yourself is really important. And then lastly, you also want to describe your personal learnings to help mentors match you with a project well. So for example, I might say something like, I found the blend of hardware and software to be really rewarding. Um, so yeah, and then you want to also demonstrate your interest in program strengths. So you want to show that you've researched the internship program really well, and you understand like, wow, this lab has an X-ray free electron laser, and that's something I'm really excited to work on, and that's unique to the lab. So if you can demonstrate that you have done that research and you're really excited about their strengths, that'll also be a huge pro for your application. Next slide. So when filling out the application, I would recommend filling out the details at least a week before the deadline. Sometimes you just want to be able to understand like every single detail in the like actual application portal before it's like, the day of. I'd also recommend to this end to not submit your application during classes, like, in the middle of the semester. I'd recommend waiting to like Thanksgiving breaks or winter breaks so that you have the actual like brain space to really like read every detail on the application and like to fill it out thoroughly. So with this, I mean that sometimes on these application portals, they say things like, if your social security number is on your transcript, you are immediately disqualified. And so you want to be able to make sure that you're reading all these little details so that you don't immediately get like kicked out of the pool, even if you're extremely qualified for that position. Another thing is that you may have to enter things manually, like you may have to put in every single class you took and your letter grade and the units. And that can be a little tedious in addition to resume details like I was part of this club, I was part of this job, things like that. So that might take a lot of time as well. Next slide. So then after you've submitted, you should feel very proud of yourself. These applications can be very long. It can be very daunting to start writing these kinds of like applications and essays. And so you should feel very like accomplished after you've written one of these applications. You should also recognize that these are very competitive internships. Like which some of them you might be competing with people across the entire country. Um, so yeah, it can be competitive. And then lastly, you should follow up with the potential mentors that you reached out to initially. Just to be like, hi, I know we talked earlier. I was really interested in your project. I've just submitted my application. And that will help them basically like pick you out a little bit more clearly. And overall, I would say that you should take applying to internships seriously. I know it can seem very daunting and it can be hard and like intimidating, but it's your career, and so you want to take it seriously. So you want to be thorough and diligent about it. And if you need any help with your applications, feel free to contact me. I've written many cover letters, lots of versions of my resume, and also many essays. So feel free to reach out. But good luck.